The American Motorcyclist Association has been around about 89 years. It started as a sanctioning body to help with competitive motorcycling. When motorcycle racing became popular, they organized in these chapters called districts. And over the years, it's done some changing, and we've added road riding and recreational off-road riding. And today, now we represent a large portion of the motorcyclists across America.
How many people ride motorcycles in the United States of America right now?
It's hard to get a grasp on that because there are licensed riders and then there's registered motorcycles, and they don't always match up. We know there are millions of registered motorcycles and we have millions of licensed motorcyclists, but there's a lot, and it's growing, but again, the numbers are hard to get a fix on.
Now, you told me an interesting story how you got involved in motorcycling. One day a guy made the mistake of saying something to you.
Yeah, I was at the local community college. I was always a bit of a tomboy, and people who know me tell me, don't tell her she can't do something, because then I become, it's the hair, the stubbornness, I'm going to prove you wrong. So my best friend's boyfriend told me that I could never ride a motorcycle because girls don't. So I got my permit the next day.
What year was that?
81. 81.
Okay.
Yeah, 19. I got my permit the next day. My boyfriend at the time saw this coming, and he went out and bought a motorcycle, and I rode with him for a while. And when he upgraded, I bought his little hand-me-down and putted around with the guys for several years. There were really only 2 other women I ever saw riding in this area at the time, so a bit of an anomaly, but it was fun. The attention was great.
Well, actually, that's kind of funny because I never thought about it. I just thought men and women drive cars, they drive motorcycles. I didn't realize that there was discrimination.
Yeah. It hasn't always been that easy crossover. It's getting there, though.
Now, you are chairman of the board, the first woman chair in the 89-year history.
Yeah, it's very exciting. It's very exciting. Well, it's a little scary too. I work with some extremely brilliant people in the industry. The AMA board it consists of 6 representatives from the regions, and we're voted in by our general membership. But we also have 4 representatives from the industry. So we have, very important people in varying motorcycle companies, from Harley Davidson and KTM and Kawasaki and apparel companies, and these are their top marketing and PR people. So it's a little intimidating to sit in a room with these really smart and experienced people, but it's also reassuring to know that they've got my back, I've got theirs, and I learn a lot. Just every conversation, every board meeting that we have, it's a wonderful experience. So I feel very, very lucky that I got to be on the board, and I'm just very excited to have gotten this position.
The American Motorcyclist Association, and to a degree before going on the air today, you were talking about it, you have a lobbyist in Washington. You sort of lobby Washington and the state capitals for certain things, right? Yeah,
we basically focus in 3 different things: rights, riding, and racing. Rights would be our advocacy group out of Washington, D.C., and that office is headed up right now by retired Senator Wayne Allard from Colorado.
Okay.
So we've got a very experienced person inside the Beltway, and we have staff that are pro-motorcycle safety and rights, and just advocacy all around. A few years back, we had an issue with the lead law, and we fought a good fight, and we were able to correct the problem.
What's that law?
It was the Consumer Protection Safety Act, which was meant to protect our children from lead in products made for children under 12, and we refer to it as the lead law. And it made perfect sense. We had a lot of problems with these toys coming and getting our children sick, but a byproduct of that law was that anything made for children under the age of 12 was affected if it had a certain ratio of lead. And that included motorcycles and ATVs, which meant you could not sell or produce any little dirt bikes or ATVs for these children, and that one took out a full industry. Secondly, in this era where we have the obesity problem with our children, these are kids who are going out riding trails, getting out into nature with mom and dad. It's a family event. They're active. They could participate in competitions. So it's kind of like being part of the football team. They learn to win. They learn to compete, to be friends with their competitors. And we are looking at losing all of that. Secondly, if a child is about 8 years old and there's no motorcycle made for that 8-year-old, there's a good chance that that kid's going to hop on an adult-sized motorcycle. So
sure.
we were afraid of what would happen if and when that occurred. AMA, along with the MIC, which is the Motorcycle Industry Council, took the lead on the fight, got our members involved. We began writing our representatives. We held some rallies. One of the rallies was called the Capitol Hill Climb, and there were a lot of little kids dressed in all of their motocross attire, and they went to DC. They rallied DC. They walked the halls. They met their local representatives, and I think it gave a feel as to these are children being impacted because of this byproduct. One of the signs they would hold up, it was pretty funny, was a sign with read, "I promise not to lick my motorcycle," because they're not putting these parts
sure.
in their mouths. So, but we ended up getting an unconditional waiver to the law. So that industry and that sport is now safe.
What are some of the other issues impacting motorcyclists, both in the United States and around the world?
Well, there's always the issue of safety and not being seen. One of our big fights right now, one of the things we're very concerned about, is distracted driving. We know there's always accidents, people texting, and we all know it's very dangerous to be on your phone or texting. But if you're a motorcyclist and you're involved as the victim of an accident due to distracted driving, it's devastating. It's not just a tap on the bumper. We've lost a lot of lives with distracted driving. So we hope to be in the forefront of that. And we also have issues. There's always the helmet law issue, noise. Another is, we refer to it as the land grab. The trails are being shut down right and left, and that closes out a complete sport. If there's no country roads to take your family out on and just ride the trails and have a picnic, then there's no place to take those little dirt bikes out for a spin.
You were talking about motorcycle safety, and a report came out this week, and you're probably more aware of it than I am, but one of the things I heard about, and now I'm going to be sensitive to it, a lot of people, when they're getting out of their car after parking it, they just open the door and they don't look at people driving along in a motorcycle or a bicycle, like, whoop.
Yes, up and over the top. Yes, and I've had a couple close calls that way. I like to ride on the left side of the lane. One of the things we teach, I'm also a Motorcycle Safety Foundation rider coach. One of the things we teach is the risk. Be aware of the risk and be aware of your lane position. So there's little things like that folks, drivers of cars, might not realize how dangerous it is. But doing something as simple as opening your car door into traffic, it might not just hurt your door, but it could cause someone a lot of injuries.
Now, why would they start closing trails to you folks? Because you hear about trails being opened up for jogging and for bicycles, and all of a sudden they're closing them now. Why? Is it just for motorcyclists or
power sports?
Okay.
Typically ATVs and dirt bikes.
All right.
And it's an environmentalist movement, and I can understand the concerns, but motorcyclists tend to be very environmentally connected. This is why they like to be out in the woods or in the desert. They like nature. So we promote to our members, leave it better than when you went in. And you're always going to have a bad apple here or there that's going to do something.
Right.
But that's not all of us. And part of what we want to do at AMA is make sure that people know that most of us want to comply and want to enjoy what this beautiful country has to offer us. So, don't take it out on us if there's a few bad ones,
Now, the American Motorcyclist Association has more than 4,000 professional and amateur events every year in the United States of America. So you guys are obviously doing good. Want to talk about those events a little bit?
The events? Oh, there's all sorts of things. You've got your typical road riding clubs. You'll see them around. You've got your Christian Motorcyclist Association. If there is a side hobby, there is a club that's been geared toward it. I mean, there's probably, spaghetti lovers, motorcycle club, who knows.
Okay.
They tend to run a lot of charity events.
I'll look that one up.
Yeah, and all of those, the ones through AMA are all chartered and sanctioned through AMA, which means that they meet the guidelines of running a safe event, making sure it's all up and up on board, that you carry insurance and all those sorts of things. So that's part of the recreational road side. Then there are recreational off-road events, just trail rides that are non-competitive, but they're just for the fun of it. You go out with your friends and you ride a course, raise money for charity or to do usually some good event for the community. And then there is the competition side of things, and we've got a variety of flavors of competition, from motocross, which is a closed track with a lot of hills and turns and dirt flying everywhere, road racing, which is on pavement, and flat track, which is just around and around, crazy speeds around in a circle. But there's a lot of events, there's a lot of flavors, and if you like watching this stuff, it's also on TV.
In this area, I've noticed that when there is an event, a fundraising event, the motorcyclists in the capital region seem to get involved, especially when helping our veterans. Is that my imagination?
No, it's true. Motorcycle riders tend to be really big-hearted people to start, and I don't think I've ever met a motorcyclist who isn't very patriotic. I mean, we love our rights, we love our freedom, we love our country, and we love what our veterans do for us. And if there is a veteran in need, if there's anyone in need, but especially a veteran, they jump right on board. Local clubs tend to do things like help with building a house for a disabled vet, or raising money for a fallen rider. And the other big thing they're huge in supporting is any children's charities. Anything. The Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation is huge with motorcyclists, and any way you can help. And it's a lot of fun. It's almost, you feel guilty to say you're raising money for something, because you're going to socialize and have a really good time. So, it's a win-win.
Do movies help motorcyclists in the motorcycle image a little bit? Like, I think of incredible motorcycle riding in 007 movies.
Yeah, well, I suppose it does. My concern is, I have a couple 20-somethings at home. I'm the type of mom that would be afraid that my son might try to do that on his own, But it does. It makes it cool. There's always that cool factor, and yeah, it always helps. Definitely.
Now, you alluded to helmet laws earlier. Are you opposed to helmet laws? But at the same time, you said you feel that everyone should wear a helmet.
I stand by, basically, AMA has position statements, and I'm not just saying this as lip service to AMA. I truly believe you should wear a helmet, but I do believe it should be a choice. There have been studies that tell you the benefits and the negative issues with wearing a helmet, and I have not bought into either one completely. I think there needs to be new work done on that. I can tell you, speaking from personal experience, that I was involved in an accident and was wearing a full face helmet, and both sides were ground down, and I know that would have been my chin. So for me, I always wear a helmet, and I always wear one that comes down underneath my chin. And I figure if people like Danica Patrick, who can buy anything in the world, is buying a nice helmet and wearing it, and she knows the risks that are involved, then who am I? But again, I do believe there needs to be an element of choice in this.
I learned something from you today, that there are motorcycle helmets. I just thought they would have been for male and females, but there are. You have a motorcycle helmet here which is designed for women.
For women.
Different from the one for a male?
It is. This one in particular is designed for women, and it fits a little bit differently. As my friend told me, they didn't just shrink it and pink it, meaning make it smaller and throw some flowers on it or something to make it girly. It was engineered to fit a woman's skull, which is a little bit different, higher cheekbones, smaller features. So it's nice, we're finally being heard and seen, and the industry is following suit. Women riders, it's the largest growing segment in motorcycling, and the industry is really taking that to heart and treating us as riders, not the novelty item of, oh, isn't it cute, his wife wants to ride.